Toeter, 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 toeter. Met Romana op de scooter. Eien, 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 eien. Wil een stukje met haar rijden.
History happened everywhere. Hello, my name is Ryan Weir, and I'm here in the HHE studio with the Dutch courage to my Dutch oven. It's Mr. Peter Goddard.
Dutch oven, would you care to explain that, Ryan?
Just slide under my sheets, Peter. I have a gift for you. Now, Peter, last week the Derzolator gave a sculpture in the Netherlands during the second millennium. So would you mind telling the listeners what they've got in store for today?
I would absolutely love to do that, Ryan. We are off to the Netherlands, the home of tulips and windmills and very tall people. We're going to look at sculpture, including an homage to Amsterdam's street urchins that became home to a whole anarchist movement. We'll stand startled at the sight of a series of startling signs, and we're going to discover Barry, a head who emerged from the sea to become quite the celebrity. Welcome to the land of tulips and windmills. Welcome to the Low Countries. Welcome to the Netherlands.
Welkom in de feesttent, doe maar lekker af. De sjammer van de zolder, waar je bakt, daar gaat eraf. Hakken, beuken, springen, de hut gaat uit zijn vol. Ja, vliegen! Van links naar rechts, de tent die wordt gewald. Naar links! Naar rechts!
All right, Peter. Well, look, I've got to say, this is a stacked episode. There's a lot of stuff to talk through. But first of all, Peter, we need to orient ourselves. Where the heck is the Netherlands, and why is it different to Holland?
The Netherlands is a country in northwestern Europe, and it's one of the countries that make up the Kingdom of the Netherlands.
Ooh.
So the Netherlands is but one country in the Kingdom of the Netherlands, the others being Aruba, Curacao, and St. Martin.
They don't sound close to Holland.
They are Caribbean colonies. So
Right.
these are the colonies that were once part of Dutch colonialism. Now the Kingdom of the Netherlands is the Netherlands plus these other places.
More of that coming up in the history section.
Indeed. So start here in London. All you have to do is go 300 kilometres or 168 miles east and bingo, you're there. Although you will have to cross the channel, so bring a swimsuit. It has Germany to the east and it's got Belgium to the south. So it's our nearby neighbour.
I know very well where it is, but it's much bigger, isn't it, the Netherlands than just Holland? It's quite a huge area of land.
Indeed. Holland is a name that has frequently been used interchangeably with the Netherlands, but they are not the same thing, as you point out. But Holland is just two provinces, Noord-Holland and Zuid-Holland, North and South Holland. But although today it's considered more inclusive and appropriate to call it the Netherlands and not Holland at all, although you will hear Dutch people celebrating the football going up, Holland up, so it's not unspeakably rude, but it's just not the done thing these days.
Understood.
Now, size-wise, the Netherlands is 41,500 square kilometres, which is 7.5% the size of a France. Or to put it another way, you need 13 Netherlands to make a France.
That is actually smaller than I thought it was.
Geographically, it's flat and low. Netherlands means low country. And that's because as much as 20% of the whole country has been reclaimed from the sea.
Which is an astonishing feat.
It is. And what's amazing to me was the 14th century they started doing this.
Right.
So it's not a modern practice. And the other interesting part to me, which I realised, was the windmill. Because it was the windmills that powered the pumps that drove the water to reclaim the land. Hence you see windmills everywhere in Holland.
Oh, so it's not about grinding down grain for bread.
It's running pumps to get rid of the water.
Through the dams and the dikes.
Exactly so. Flag-wise, we've got a flag that's red, white and blue in horizontal bands from top to bottom. But what's interesting about the flag for me is, Ryan, what do you think of colour-wise when you think of the Netherlands?
Orange.
Orange. And there is no orange in the Netherlands flag.
I'm wearing orange today.
You are, in celebration of the nation. Mm-hmm. So orange is kind of the national colour, the sports team where if you ever go to King's Day, which is usually the 27th of April, you'll see everyone out partying and everyone's wearing orange. It's great. And this all started because of a Dutch royal family in 1544, starting with William of Orange. Pretty bad news for the court poet because, as they say, nothing rhymes with orange. Let's talk the national anthem.
I'd rather listen to it.
Okay, let's do that. It's here. So this one I think sounds a little bit like a beautiful Christmas carol. Called Wilhelmus van Nassau, it's considered the oldest national anthem that's still in use today with both words and music.
Very nice. It's very regal sounding.
It is. It's very noble and sedate. dates back to at least 1572, although it was only formally recognised as a national anthem in 1932.
Oh, right. Okay, so fairly recent.
Yeah. In full, it has 15 stanzas and takes about 15 minutes to get through.
Bet they don't do that at the start of a football game.
Not as a rule. They sing the first or sometimes the first and sixth stanzas.
Well, I loved that. I thought that was great.
It's a nice one, isn't it? It's gentle.
The Netherlands facts!
That took its toll by the sounds of it. The Dutch are, on average, the tallest people in the world.
Oh, is that right?
They have been since 1958, apparently. In 2020, the average height of a Dutch man was 182.5 centimetres, just short of 6 feet, with the women clocking in at 168.7 centimetres, 5'6" or thereabouts. What did surprise me was the men's basketball team is ranked by the International Basketball Federation at number 53 in the world.
Huh.
So they're not using this to their advantage at all, from what I can see.
No, you'd think so.
Now, Netherlands is famous for a flower, Ryan. What do you think?
Oh, well, I know this one. It's the tulip.
Tulip indeed. Not originally from the Netherlands, though.
Oh, okay. Where's it from?
It was imported from Turkey in the 16th century, but it has, of course, become key to Dutch identity. There's a couple of big tulip moments. The 1630s, there was a market bubble called Tulip Mania, when the price of a single bulb became similar to the price of a house, which was insane, and obviously that bubble burst and a load of people lost all their money, as they do in all those market bubbles. On the flip side, in terms of the real value, when times are hard, you can also eat tulips if you have to. In 1944, in the really hard winter they had, people were starving. They ate tulip bulbs to survive.
Just the bulbs, not the stems.
Yeah, I don't think they ate the stems. It's about the bulbs are sort of relatives of the, I think, onions.
Oh, okay.
And it's still a thriving business. In 2021, the value of tulip bulb export was over 250 million euros.
That's a lot. I kind of want to know what a tulip tastes like.
Well, given that they don't now eat them and they only ate them in times of desperate starvation, I'm going to guess not great.
Yeah, probably not great.
Back to the subject of orange, Ryan. The Dutch are the reason that carrots today are orange.
But carrots are orange.
No, carrots were purple and various other dark shades.
Okay.
The first bred always orange carrot was developed and named Long Orange by Dutch growers in the early 1700s.
And they've just kind of taken over the world.
Yeah, exactly. Some say it was part of the whole Dutch orange, William of Orange business, but other people just say it's just a nicer colour for a carrot, so people went for that.
It's in that rare breed of vegetables that are orange, alongside the pumpkin.
And the orange.
Orange.
There you go,
Yeah.
Dutch facts.
Dutch facts! Hey, Pete.
Hey, Ryan.
Guess what?
What?
I finally found it.
Found what?
A rhyme for orange.
Ryan, I've told you nothing rhymes with orange.
Ah, but what about orange?
You think orange rhymes with orange?
Yeah,
But it's just the same word.
but it's a different orange.
What are you talking about?
Well, shall I compare thee to this orange, which art so juicy, unlike this other different orange?
Ryan, you can't just repeat the word orange for a rhyme, even if it is a different orange.
Yeah, you can.
No, you can't.
Well, Shakespeare did it.
When did he do that?
He compared two different bees.
What?
He wrote to be or not to be,
Ryan, first of all, that is not what he means.
isn't it?
No, Shakespeare was wondering whether he should be a bee or not be a bee, implying that he already is a bee.
Maybe he wants to be another bee then.
There's only one bee, Ryan.
No, but he says to be.
No, he says to be or not to be. It can only be one bee, not two bees.
Oh, whatever. Right, I'm going to go find other rhymes for orange anyway.
What an idiot. There is no rhyme for orange. I really should oil that door in. All right, Ryan, I've oriented us to the Netherlands. Why don't you tell us the history?
All right, well, look, we are going to start our history of the Netherlands around 250,000 years ago.
That was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago, yeah. This is the Paleolithic world. Early man survives by wandering up and down various rivers and coastlines, hunting woolly mammoths, and basically doing his best to not get eaten by hyenas, lions, and bears.
Oh my.
Time passes, and after the Ice Age, around 12,000 years ago, a tribe of hunter-gatherers called the Swifterband, they moved north from the frozen tundra of Scandinavia into the frozen tundra of the Netherlands.
Oh, you know where we are with the frozen tundra, I suppose.
Yeah, home from home.
Ooh, this is nice.
Anyway, they survive there long enough on sort of pockets of plants and wild animals that remain after the ice has left, and they settle down. They start farming pigs. They make some lovely pottery.
Nice.
By the Bronze Age, we find descendants of the Swifter band trading food, textiles, and amber with other local cultures, like the Celts and the Germanic tribes, some of which take a fancy to the area and decide to just move there permanently. They set themselves up with farms of their own, and they develop their own new and distinct cultures.
Ooh.
Yeah. The Romans arrive around 57 BCE and they declare the area part of the Roman Empire. They build roads, forts and towns, and they also recruit some of the local warriors to be soldiers in their army.
Well, you want the tall people on your side, don't you?
Yeah, for sure you do, yeah. 500 years later, the Roman Empire ends and new kingdoms emerge, most notably the Franks. They're a Germanic tribe and they take control for a couple hundred years, expanding commerce and trade around Europe, introducing laws and administration and, generously spreading Christianity throughout the region.
Oh, they love to do that.
Then powerful medieval cities emerge like Utrecht and Amsterdam and Hague, built on money brought in from trade with countries around the Baltic and the North Seas. That money starts to accumulate, and the power that this brings inevitably catches the attention of several powerful nobles who tussle with each other over who should be in charge. The winners of this tussle, Pete, the Dukes of Burgundy. They, in the 15th century, take control for about 100 years until Charles V. He is the ruler of the Spanish Habsburg Empire, and he wrestles control for himself.
They were sort of Hungarian and Spanish, weren't they, the Habsburgs? They got all over the map.
They did. But he's not a popular emperor, though, Pete. He introduces taxes and he persecutes anyone who doesn't follow his particular type of religion, and so tensions escalate to the point where a fight for independence kicks off.
Yay!
Yeah, this is in 1568, and the rebels are led by a man called William of Orange.
Ah, I'm William and I'm from Orange.
They call me William of Orange. Anyway, William starts a brutal and bloody revolt that lasts for 80 years in a war that's called
The War of the Orange 80 Years.
the 80 Years' War. The war ends in 1648 with the Spanish being kicked out and a new republic taking their place. Things start to improve and the Netherlands enter into what will be later known as their Golden Age.
Nice.
Yes, this is a time when the Dutch East India Company is dominating the world in their search for spices.
Ooh.
We see artists like Rembrandt slapping some paint around on canvases. The first stock exchange opens, Pete. The first pendulum clock is invented, Pete.
Ah, finally, a pendulum clock. I've been waiting so long.
The world's first fire hose is invented, Pete.
Surely someone had the idea of a hose before that.
The world's first submarine is invented, Pete.
I think the submarine and the fire hose feel like they should have been invented in very different time periods.
It's the time when the first artificial island was built and, of course, the first recorded dissection of a great white shark.
Oh, of course. I often think about that.
Yeah, there were other things invented too. It wasn't just the dissection of the shark. But the good times don't last forever, Pete. By the 1700s, European power dynamics shift such that England and France become the major players on the global stage. The French Revolutionary War leads to the establishment of a Batvarian Republic in 1795, and later the French Empire takes over completely under the leadership of one Monsieur Bonaparte.
Ah.
But his reign does not last very long, Pete, because 20 years later, Napoleon is defeated, and the Congress of Vienna gather together and they decide to join the North and South regions together to create the United Kingdom of the Netherlands.
Ah, see what they did there. They tricked us. First half, they were thinking Britain, then, it was the Netherlands all along.
So King William I becomes the first constitutional monarch, and under his leadership, things start to improve again.
Hurrah!
Yep, the country starts expanding into the heart of Asia and Africa and the Caribbean, where colonies and plantations are established, built on the backs of slaves.
Yay.
That brings us to the 20th century, Pete, where the Netherlands sits out the First World War by declaring themselves neutral, something they were unable to do during World War II when the Nazis occupy the country and decimate their Jewish population, including a little Jewish girl called Anne Frank, who wrote in a diary about her traumatic experiences hiding in the attic of her family home.
Nazis are bad.
Post-war, the Netherlands becomes a founding member of several international organisations, including the United Nations, NATO, and the European Union. They close down many of their overseas colonies and they focus instead on international diplomacy. They build the International Court of Justice, known as Den Haag or The Hague. Over the last few decades, the Netherlands becomes one of the more progressive nations in the world, being the first country to legalise same-sex marriage, regulating sex work, having a humanitarian approach to asylum seekers, introducing assisted suicide laws, and of course, legalising cannabis.
Yeah, that last one is what it got famous for, really, isn't it?
It put it on the map. And today, that is perhaps how the Netherlands is best known. It's a cool and trendy country with a modern, relaxed attitude and a high standard of living. It's a place I've visited a few times. I know you've been there too, Pete, and I always look forward to returning. What surprises me, though, is I've only been to a very small part of the Netherlands, and I look forward to seeing the rest.
I agree. I have been to The Hague, I've been to Amsterdam, and that's pretty much it, I'm afraid.
Do you want to expand on your trip to The Hague?
I got off scot-free, I'll say no more.
Your crimes against humanity.
It was my wild youth.
Your Lordship, without further ado, I announce my latest invention. This boat.
Okay. You do realise, though, we have boats already? Well, lots of them, in fact.
Yes, but this is a very special type of boat, Your Lordship. It goes, and get this, under the water.
Well, a number of our boats go under the water. It's something we generally consider a bad thing.
Ah, yes, but this boat is supposed to go under the water.
So you've invented the pre-sunk boat?
Well, no.
It sounds like that.
No, Your Lordship. You can travel around in it, submerged beneath the waves.
All right. Doing what?
Well, I mean, you can look at the fish, you could look at some crabs, look at the seabed. I don't know, loads of things.
Right, and what's this underwater boat made of exactly?
Wood.
But wood floats.
Yeah, I'm still working on that bit, but trust me, it is a boat that will sink.
Again, I'm not sure this is the selling point you seem to think it is.
All right, well, I have other inventions.
Really?
Yes, Your Lordship. I invented the pendulum.
What's that then?
Well, it's this sort of metal disc and it rocks from side to side.
Okay, and why?
I don't know, but I mean, it could power a clock. Save you all that time winding it up.
But I don't have to wind up my clock. I have people for that.
Oh, right.
Anything else?
Well, I chopped up a shark.
What? Why? Why would you do that?
I don't know, really. I mean, it looks good, though. You ever seen a great white gizzard?
No.
It's the size of your head.
Are you sure you're a scientist?
Nah, I'm more of a Renaissance man.
Guards, escort this man from the court.
Wait, no, I've got loads more ideas.
Honestly, whatever next? A flexible pipe for watering flowers?
That's not a bad idea. All right, Peter, well, look, we've been through the history, you've oriented me fully, but now we have a challenge, and that challenge is sculpture in the Netherlands during the second millennium. So what have you got?
A whole 1,000 years to pick from, so quite a generous time period and quite a good subject. In particular, my first story is about a statue that is in Amsterdam, and my story is about how a statue can come to symbolise things quite different to what was intended when it was put up.
Okay, interesting. Tell me more.
Now, in the city of Amsterdam, there is a square called Het Spui. It's a lovely little square surrounded by bookshops, and in the square there is a statue. This is of a skinny little boy. He's about 10 years old, standing with his hands on his hip.
Okay.
He is Lievekue, which is Dutch for like sweetie or little darling or something of that nature. And he was created to represent the kind of street kids, the urchins of Amsterdam, who I think it was based on a story that was written and published in a newspaper. But generally the kids of Amsterdam, they've got a heart of gold. They're a bit mischievous, but they're good kids at heart.
I mean, if there's one takeaway from my trip to Amsterdam, is it's full of urchins.
Absolutely rammed with urchins with hearts of gold, as I recall. The statue was made by sculptor Karel Newman, was unveiled in 1959, so a relatively modern sculpture, all things considered. Now, it just so happens that the commission for this cheeky chappy was sponsored by a cigarette company called the Hunter Cigarette Company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's part of the sort of public art as a culture washing your business potential. potentially. But, back in the 50s, this was before people were too down on cigarettes. But there were people who were anti-smoking activists, including Robert Jasper Grooteveld, described as an artist, a magician, and an anti-smoking activist. Not necessarily in that order.
Okay.
Now, he seized on the idea of this little boy as symbolising the addicted consumer of the future.
Right.
And he started having happenings, because this is the 1960s, remember, from about 1964. So protest is groovy, man. We're having a happening around the statue.
For sure.
So the statue became a focal point for this guy. He would dance around it, he'd chant incantations, and generally create a spectacle.
All right. Groovy, man.
Now, this guy was clearly a good performer. He inspired a few people. People started showing up to the kind of weekly show that was on offer at this little statue. People started joining in, and then this whole affair started turning into a bit of an unofficial youth movement.
Wow. All because of this little statue.
Well, this statue was kind of the coalescing point, and in 1965, the movement became official, or at least gave itself a name. Grooteveld formed Provo, a Dutch anarchist counterculture youth movement who were intent on changing Dutch society.
Okay, great. I like the image of them with their hands on their hips.
Yeah, it's kind of a good statue to choose for that purpose. But just to give you an idea of who Provo was for, their first magazine describes itself as for the following people: anarchists, Provos, beatniks, planers, scissor grinders, jailbirds, simple Simon Stylites, magicians, pacifists, potato chip chaps, charlatans, philosophers, germ carriers, grand masters of the Queen's horse, happeners, vegetarians, syndicalists, Santa Clauses, kindergarten teachers, agitators, pyromaniacs, assistants, scratchers and syphilitics, secret police, and other riffraff.
You just described all the things I look for on Tinder.
A dating profile that writes itself. Seeking the following.
Scissor grinders.
So all of this riffraff would get together and have their meetings and happenings at the feet of the statue of the Amsterdam street urchin.
Cool.
Now, over time, happenings and pranks and beatnik business gave way to violence. In 1966, protest became rioting, and it actually sees, I think, the first use of tear gas in the country of the Netherlands.
Oh, right.
Now, the violent response to these riffraff and scissor grinders was sufficiently shocking to, I guess, the people in general, was it led to the removal of two people that Provo hated, which was the police chief of Amsterdam, a guy called H.J. van der Molen, and the mayor, who was a guy called Gisberg van Hall. And they both lost their jobs. One got fired, I think, and the other one retired, in inverted commas. But these guys were kind of the arch enemies of Provo's. And in fact, this success against what we could call City Hall, if you like, caused Grooteveld and his collaborator to actually say, we've done it. We did what we wanted to do. They declare an end to Provo, saying Provo has to disappear because all the great men who made us big have gone. So 2 years after they started, the movement went, right, we didn't like those guys, we got rid of those guys, we're done.
Movement achieved.
Exactly, you don't hear that very often, do you?
Flash in a pan.
Exactly, but the statue prevails. The statue actually went on to have all sorts of other adventures. He was also in 1966 kidnapped by students.
Right, okay.
In the 1970s, he became part of the logo for the football club FC Amsterdam.
I guess he looks like a footballer with his hands on his hips.
He does have a kind of striking posture. He was knocked over by a reversing truck at one point, breaking both his ankles, but was managed to be put back together okay.
Oh, ow.
In 2015, he was set on fire during demonstrations.
How do you set a statue on fire?
Well, I did have questions about that myself, I must admit. But no, he still stands there today. He's ranked at this time of writing as number 215 of 1,010 things to do in Amsterdam on TripAdvisor, with user Macedon Boy declaring, it's a cute little statue, but I wouldn't go out of the way to see it.
Right, okay. But I would demonstrate and fight the power.
Fight the power. So I think that was interesting because that statue's seen things, right? It was part of a major movement. It's historic. And yet today it's just a little statue of a boy again. So the way it transformed through the years of a supposed bit of greenwashing, if you like, or culture washing by a cigarette company to the exact opposite of what they wanted to achieve, anarchist movements coalesce, then it just becomes now it's just a statue that people look at and go, oh, that's all right.
And yet, Pete, we're still talking about Hunter's cigarettes.
You can't buy that kind of publicity.
So who won there?
I like the cool, refreshing taste of Hunter's cigarettes. That sculpture in the Netherlands, Ryan.
I love it. Nice one, Pete.
Thanks, mate. Guys, I've got some bummer news. There's a traitor in our group. The cigarette company sent a mole to spy on us.
What?
Shock. That's rubbish. Now, I don't know if it's you, Star Child, or you, Rainbow Peace. Could be you, Flower Kitten, or even you, Charles Marlborough III.
Me?
But we've all got to be on the lookout for any suspicious behaviour, yeah? You dig?
Oh, right.
We can do that.
Right,
We got your back,
Yeah, we
brother.
got it.
Right.
Now, last weekend's statue loving was far out, but we got to do something bigger to make a real scene. You feel me? So anyone, any ideas?
Well, we could stage a concert.
Oh, that sounds really groovy, Star Child, but far too expensive for us.
Well, I mean, we could flood the square with flowers, brother.
I dig your vibe, Rainbow Piece, but we can't hurt all those plants. Charles Marlborough III?
Well, I mean, I was thinking we could just distribute cigarettes to school children. Have them parade through the city, holding their cigarettes up high and shouting, "Hooray for cigarettes!"
No way, man,
no
that's
way.
evil.
We can't
I
do
hate
that.
this idea.
What?
Okay, chill out, everyone. I dig it, you know. It's radical irony with a twist of Dadaism.
Excellent. I mean, groovy.
Excuse me, but I think this is a terrible plan.
Oh, criticising the plan, are you, Rainbow Piece? Sounds exactly like something a mole might do.
What? No. Charles Marlborough III is right, guys. It's you, isn't it, Rainbow Piece? You're the spy. Get out of here, you square.
Yes, off you pop.
Hey, man, this is like totally fascist behaviour.
Well, that sounds a trifle moly as well.
You know, you're right, Charles Marlborough III. Starchild, I'm sorry, but you have to hit the road too.
And are we entirely sure about Flower Kitten too?
Oh, you're absolutely right, Charles Marlborough III. We can't take any chances. Flower Kitten, you're out of here.
Cheerio.
Well, it looks like it's just you and me, Charles Marlborough III.
Yes. Cigarette to celebrate?
What?
Ironically, of course.
Oh, of course, yeah. Right on, man.
Right on, brother. Right on.
So that's my sculptural offering, Ryan. Have you got something carved for me?
Oh, have I? Yes.
Show me.
Okay, so Peter, you have been to Amsterdam, haven't you?
I have.
Now, as you were walking through the crowded city centre, down the canals and along the winding alleyways, did you ever find yourself standing outside of, let's say, a store, mouth agape at what was being sold inside?
Yes.
Was there something so shocking that it made you slack-jawed?
A little bit, yeah.
Was it a store selling, I don't know, finely crafted artisanal Dutch lace?
Yes, let's say it was that.
What was it? Racks of hand-carved wooden clogs?
I do enjoy a clog.
Was it a drugstore selling hallucinogenic mushrooms and wacky-backy to baked-out tourists?
No.
Well, if you had said the drugstore, then you wouldn't have been very far removed from those visitors to Holland back in the 16th century.
Oh.
This is all a bit enigmatic, isn't it?
A little
let me
bit.
explain. So, Pete, let's imagine we're in the Netherlands in the 16th century. Most of the country, as you've rightly pointed out, is rural and flat, with fields filled with colourful tulips. It's crisscrossed by canals and it's crowned by a horizon of windmills slowly turning in the breeze, sucking up that juice from the land.
Yum, yum, yum.
But as we make our way into the bustling towns and cities with their tall and narrow brick houses, we find busy markets with merchants flogging goods from around the world, spices from East Indies, textiles from India, timber from the Baltic, and we also find permanent stores selling baked goods, cuts of meat and iron tools. Nothing very special about any of that, you might think, for the time period, but as we walk past these stores, we notice a small crowd of people gathered, mouths open, gawping in unison at the entrance of one particular shop.
I do like a gorp.
And what are they staring at in amazement? Well, it's a sculpted head placed above the entrance of a drugstore.
Wow, a head is that impressive? Tell me more.
Okay, well, so this is a unique tradition to the Netherlands. These sculpted heads are known as Gaperss, and they were placed above the door of pharmacies and were quite a sight to behold. These just weren't any old ordinary sculpted head though, Pete. Imagine a large, colourful head with wild, staring eyes, its mouth mouth wide open and its tongue sticking out as if in shock or disgust or as if it's just yawning or something.
Yeah, that's kind of what I see every morning in the mirror. It is a horrifying sight.
Exactly. Now, each chemist had their own distinct gaper. They were often exotic looking, in quotes. They wore a headdress. They had dark skin, red lips and a beard. They often represented a Moor or a Turk or a Native American or a man from Eastern Asia, always with an exaggerated comical expression.
Are we tipping into these were quite racist depictions territory?
Well, that's a very good point. We'll come to that in a bit. But the question is, why did these pharmacies start mounting these heads above the entrance to their stores? Well, that's where things get a bit murky, Pete, because, well, there's a number of theories. Some researchers point to the literal translation of the word gaper, meaning to yawn, suggesting that these heads were somehow sleepy, a side effect, perhaps, of opium, which was a popular medicine at the time, and so the head was an early form of advertising, literally signalling to those outside, come on in, we've got the good stuff.
Ah, yes, very Moorish, I've heard.
Another more popular belief, though, is that the gaper heads were designed to scare off nosy passers-by.
This feels less likely. Shop scares off customers.
Well, yeah, exactly. However, in the 16th century, pharmacists would often set up stalls outside of their stores where they would then mix together the medicines on the pavement. The fumes and such inside would have made them go, crazy, opium fumes and stuff, so they would mix it outside the store. And the suggestion is that this would cause people to stop and watch the chemist doing the mixing of the drugs, and it became so annoying to the chemist that they grew tired of telling people to just move on, and so they carved a gaper and placed it above their door as a sign to tell people to stop watching and just move on.
I don't know, I'd be in there going, that's what is that opium? Is that?
Now, another theory is that the pharmacist would hire an, again, in quotes, exotic assistant to put on a show outside the store to drive in business. The ruse being that the assistant would pretend to be deathly ill, and he would just pop one of the chemist's medicine pills and suddenly start dancing a jig, healthy as the day he was born.
That's a tale as old as time, that one, isn't it?
It is. Now, people cottoned on to this, though, eventually. And the Gaperss were then just added to the front of the stores instead. It's sort of a symbol of the health benefits of the medicine inside, if you will.
Just a reminder. Do you remember that guy who used to caper? Yeah, basically that.
Yeah, it's that thing.
Remember
the guy dancing in the street? Yeah, we do that. Anyway, but that's not all, Pete. Some people think that the origin of the gaper heads were there to ward off evil spirits. Ooh. Remember, in the 16th century, this is the medieval time, and there was a medieval belief that monsters with outstretched tongues could remove evil spirits. So the giant heads with a gaping mouth were essentially an indication to the customers that the store sold demon-free drugs.
I feel better about this one because it's gargoyles. There's a tradition of these kinds of things.
Right, the spooky, scary face scaring people away, yeah, especially outside of the door. Now, perhaps the most logical theory, though, and my particular favourite, is that Gaperss were symbols of the origins of the medicines themselves, the medicines that were sold inside the shop, because this was a time when the Netherlands were deep into their global trade, as we talked about, bringing mysterious oriental medicines back home from these exotic, far-flung corners of the world where miracle cures were said to have been discovered. So the heads represented the magical newness of exotic medicine.
Yeah, that's plausible. I like that one.
It's a pretty plausible reason, isn't it? Yeah. Now, whatever the true origin, though, it became something of a tradition for the drugstores in the Netherlands to have their own gaper, each a unique work of art that was handmade and distinct. Basically, becoming something of a company logo. It was something that customers could identify by just simply calling it the Grimacing Turk or the Startled Blackamoor or whatever. Bit like pub names, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, Gaperss became so popular, in fact, that other industries even started getting in on the act too. There was one brewery in Rotterdam that added a gaper above their factory in 1650, which supposedly was placed there to advertise to people that their beer was not only tasty, but also had medicinal qualities and health benefits too.
Stacked with the opium goodness.
Yeah, but eventually, Pete, the success of the Gaperss starts to become their downfall because by the mid-18th century, the number of pharmacies and drugstores had mushroomed to the point where there was an environment with so much competition that pharmacists were starting to sell spoiled or even counterfeit medicines instead of the good stuff. So, in order to reduce the number of pharmacies, it was decided that when a pharmacist died, their widow would receive a large amount of compensation to close the store and then just go and live off the cash.
Nice work, if you can get it.
Apparently so. Now, as a result, the number of pharmacies decreased and Gaperss started to disappear. Fast forward to the 20th century, though, there is changing attitudes towards race and discrimination. And these remaining Gaperss started to become something of a hot topic. Their exotic looks now starting to be seen as monstrously outdated. Questions started to be raised about the appropriateness of having Gaperss on the streets of the Netherlands with their exaggerated features and their darkened faces. The question was, should they be considered harmless relics of a time gone by, a simple cultural eccentricity, or were they a reminder of the country's colonial past? And so the case for removing Gaperss became something of a bit of a national debate, notable members of the public making arguments for and against keeping them. For example, Walter Schoenenberg, he's a famous architectural historian in the Netherlands, and he argued that Gaperss were never meant to ridicule anyone. He suggested that they were used as symbols of power and knowledge. They represented the exotic origin of the medicine rather than sort of just signalling any kind of oppression. He said, and I quote, "Only idiots take it seriously." Gaperss come in all skin colours and were simply a way to promote the idea that the medicines came from far away and were good for you. But that argument didn't sway public opinion, Pete. In fact, much like in the rest of Europe and in the United States, controversial statues were starting to be defaced or pulled down. You'll remember like the people of Bristol in the UK did with the slave trader statue of Edward Colston.
Yes.
Pulled it down and threw it in the harbour, did they not?
Indeed they did.
Well, cases of vandalism grew in the Netherlands too. Gaper heads started being torn down from the shop fronts, and some chemists even received death threats.
It's a bit harsh for the person who dispenses your medicines, but okay.
Regardless, Pete, eventually the Gaperss began to disappear from the streets completely. And many of them were moved into private collections or museums, like the Zuiderzee Museum in Enkhuizen and the Het Nederlands Drogistrie Museum in Maassen, both of which have impressive collections of literally hundreds of these heads. But despite the controversy, and most of the Gaperss now having been removed from storefronts across the Netherlands, you can actually still spot a few of them if you know where to look. Like Van de Pig in the city of Haarlem, which is a traditional drugstore that advertises itself today as the good of then with the best of now. Which is pretty catchy, right? Yeah. They sell healthy, natural products, and they proudly display their blue-faced Gaper, which has been there since 1849.
Racist against the blue people, but okay.
And so there you are. If you're talking about sculpture in the Netherlands during 1001 to 2000, you can't ignore the quirky history of Gaperss, which represented cultural exchange and commerce once, but today reflect modern values and serve to show that the past is rarely simple. Either way, the next time you're wandering the streets of the Netherlands, Pete, keep your eyes peeled above doorways for the head of an exotic man, and you might find yourself standing there, mouth agape, just like the visitors of old.
Well, indeed, I am going to Amsterdam in a few weeks' time. I shall go a-gaping, I feel.
Go a-gaping, see if you can take a picture of one, Pete. And if you do, post it on our social media at HHE Podcast.
Will do.
Okay, yep, just move it up to the left a bit. Yep, now up a bit more.
Morning, Jan.
Oh, morning, Jasper.
Oh, this looks exciting. Are you putting up a new sign?
Yeah, sort of. I'm actually having a Gaper put up.
A Gaper?
Yeah, it's the latest thing in brand awareness for medicinal products. All the professional chemists are getting one.
Oh, nice. So what is it exactly?
Oh, this, it's a beautifully carved head.
Oh, right.
Good, eh?
Well, I mean, it's certainly something.
Yeah, solid mahogany with lead paint and an all-weather varnish. Pretty cool, eh?
You don't think it's a bit, maybe, at all racist?
Racist?
Well, I mean, the dark skin and the red lips and the mouth wide open in a horrible grimace.
You think that's racist?
Well, it could be a little bit, yeah.
No, it's a nod to the exotic Eastern origins of my finest products.
Oh, right. It's just that, well, you know.
Oh, it'll be fine. It's just a bit of fun for people. When was making light of our more exotic friends something to moan about? Never.
Well, I suppose not.
And it never will.
All right, well, I'd best be off. Good luck with the racist head.
Thanks.
I've got a story of a head too, Ryan.
A head too?
This is a head that was almost lost to time, but was rediscovered in 2022.
Okay, why don't you tell me your story about your lost head?
Will do. In 2022, the crew of the shrimping boat Wieringen 22 were off doing their thing off the Wadden Islands, which is an archipelago that kind of follows the coast of the Netherlands. Looks like a little crest on the head of the nation.
Okay.
One day they were pulling in their nets and they saw they'd managed to catch something quite different than the seafood they were looking for.
Shrimpy.
Now, it was quite normal for them to pull up bits of wood and gunk with their catch, but this one piece of wood seemed quite different to the others because this bit of wood looked right back at them.
What?
It was a sculpted wooden head with curly locks on the sides. It had the lapels of a kind of jacket or coat around the neck and a distinctive conical hat with the top bent forwards, looking basically like a hat worn by a smurf.
Was this a gaper? Did they throw a gaper in the sea?
It was not, but they did wonder what it was. The fishermen went, "This is nice." They gave him a name. What do you think they called him?
Derzolation. Statue.
Very close. Barry.
Right, okay, that famous Dutch name Barry.
Famously Barry. So they popped Barry onto Twitter, which I guess you can do while you're at sea. I didn't realise.
Okay.
Turns out Barry causes something of a storm on Twitter, and soon the ship is being contacted, call after call after call, by the media. This is because archaeologists who saw the tweet guessed that Barry was actually a very rare find indeed.
That's so cool.
Yeah, they believed he was a figurehead or a sculpture from the 80 Years' War that you mentioned earlier.
Oh, no way. Right, so it was on the front of the ship.
The back of the ship, I think they thought, but this would date it between the mid-1500s and 1600s, so an old head indeed.
Okay, don't you normally put the head on the front of a ship?
I think that had a variety of heads, but actually it turns out that it wasn't from the back at all, but we'll come back to that.
Okay.
This was quite a rare find because generally wood rots, right? But this Barry head, they thought, must have got so buried in the seafloor that it was kept safe from the organisms that would normally munch it up.
Okay, right, yeah. Silty seafloor.
Indeed, yes, better than you realise. So they follow the advice of archaeologists and they pop Barry into an eel tub of seawater to stop him drying out, and they make their way back to shore. Now, fortunately, Barry soon finds himself in the hands of the archaeologists, and in 2023, he was living in a freeze-drying device in Zaandam, and this is for reasons explained by the archaeologist who was closely involved with him called Michiel Bartels. It's been lying on the seabed for more than 400 years and has absorbed salty seawater. If you were to put it in the open air now, it would rot. Freeze-drying enables the water to be removed, and then it becomes stable.
That makes sense, because otherwise it would just crack and go rotten or whatever.
Yeah, and you can't do it quickly. Later on in a later interview, Bartels said it was in the freezer for over 5 months.
Wow. Poor old Barry.
5 litres of seawater came out and, quote, "it looks a bit different now."
Okay.
Now, during this time, it was also concluded he wasn't from the front or the stern of the ship, but an ornament from a staircase on the middle deck, designed to frighten the enemy, apparently.
Okay, so if you got on board and you were going to go down into the depths of the ship, you'd be terrified of Barry.
Or you'd think you were in a pharmacy and you'd taken a wrong turn somewhere.
Yeah, true.
Now, in 2023, in September, he was supposed to be going on display in the Dutch town of Den Oever, and then I kind of lost track of him. So I got in touch with one of the gentlemen who were involved in the preservation of Barry, and he very kindly agreed to talk to us today.
Hooray!
So, yes, let's meet the gentleman who knows more about Barry than most people. Let's see if we can get him on the line now. Okay, so to begin with, I wonder if you could just introduce yourself to our audience.
Tjeerdo, Wieberdink. I'm one of the volunteers working on the historical corner of the harbor of Den Oever. We have a few old ships, fishing ships. One is from about 1900, and we have the oldest fishing ship, and that is from 1840, a wooden fishing ship. And because we have a little building, the fisherman who found Barry said, "Can we show Barry in your house?" There it is now.
So can you just talk us through your experience with Barry? How did Barry come into your experience?
They want to bring Barry to a museum, a boat museum or something like that. But the fisherman is coming from Den Oever. And he said, I would like if it could stay in Den Oever on a place where other people can also see it.
Okay, and when you received Barry, what kind of condition was he in?
It's wonderful. The first pictures we had of, I saw when they came in the harbor with the fishing ship, and it was complete nice. And we decided to have it a big conservation period for 1 year.
So that's a long time. The drying out alone took 5 months, I think I read.
Not only drying, but also in the polyethylene glycol. That is also what was happening with the Vasa in Stockholm, the big ship. A lot of people know that ship, and that took several years. And the structure is replaced by other stuff, so you can stay or you save it for many, many years. When you don't do that, it is away in a few years, 5 years. And we saw it. Every time we took Barry in our hand, there was some little stuff under Barry, and it was losing parts. And so it was terrible to see it.
And then did Barry go on display last year, or is he not yet being seen by the public?
Yes, it was very difficult to find a place where you can show it, because it has to be the nice temperature, the nice humidity degree, and that was very difficult. And we tried air conditioning of a car, but the air conditioning of a car is not only a small part, but a complete motor, so that doesn't work. And then we went to a shop for wine bottles where you can, but that is only a window in the front and not on the side. And then we tried a lot of different things. And then we were wondering, why is it so difficult to have a cupboard of glass where you can see it? But when you are in a museum, the temperature and the humidity is already conditioned. And in our building, it is not conditioned. So it was very difficult to find a nice place where we can show it. And at the end, we find a firm in Germany, and he is now making a nice place where we can show it.
Oh, so Barry is getting a custom-made house, is he?
Yeah, indeed. Very expensive. And the local government find it very nice that we are doing this, so they help us a lot.
Oh, good. And how have the people taken to Barry?
We are people for sailing with old ships, and then we say here you have the ship and the sails and everything about the ship, and have you seen Barry? And then they said, oh, Barry, and then they notice that they have seen it on the television or in the paper, and then they come in and they are very surprised to see Barry.
When I read the first news article, it said it was believed that Barry was from the stern of the ship.
No, there was a fisherman, and he was getting the fish in grenade, and he found a piece of wood, and his first reaction was throw away the wood. And then he thought, oh, that's something else. And then he said it is boegbeeld Barry. Boegbeeld is the stern of a ship. Boegbeeld Barry. That is a nice sound. B, B, B. And then an expert came and said, no, that's not right. It is a piece in the end of the ship.
So my question is, how do you know which part of the ship it came from?
We have in Amsterdam a very nice museum, and there are a lot of models of ships who sailed to Indonesia, to the Eastern Sea, Scandinavia, to the Mediterranean. And there you see a place where on the deck where you can go down in the place where the captain and the officers are living. And there, besides the stairs down, were two bays. When you see it, you are a little bit afraid to go inside. And so in the models, you can see where Barry probably has been stamped. And also the backside is flat, so it has against a wall. We think that is the place where it was.
Okay, I understand now. So, and where is Barry today?
In Heerlen, that's in the south of Netherlands. And there's an institute what specialized in preservation of old wood. And I phoned them last week, and they think that it will be till November or December before it comes back.
And then what is the plan for Barry when he comes home?
Then he will come in our havenboot, our building near the ships.
That's great. And everyone can come and see him?
Yeah, but we are no museum. We have no visiting time. So when we are there, you can see him. And if you're very interested, you can phone one of us and we will open our building specially for you.
We'll be there.
Yeah, expect a visit.
Okay, thank you, Pete. Ryan, bye-bye.
How about that? That is incredible.
And-
oh my God. This is so cool. Imagine being just a regular old shrimp fisherman and discovering Barry at the bottom of the sea.
Well,
So
yeah, and
cool.
those poor guys now have to go out on the sea going, what am I going to pull up today?
Yeah.
It's shrimp again. Waiting for the next Barry. It must be very disappointing once you've hooked something like that.
Yeah, really.
But there you have it, Ryan.
cool.
That was another head, another sculpture in a rather different location, in a rather different way, from the second millennium in the Netherlands.
I love it. Nice one, Pete.
Thanks, mate, and thank you very much, Mr. Wieberdink.
You know, the thing about a wooden head, he's got lifeless eyes, black eyes, like a tree's eyes. When he comes after you, he doesn't seem to be living until he gives you a splinter. And those black eyes stay black. And then you hear that terrible high-pitched screaming, and it's you, because splinters really hurt.
All right, Peter. Well, there you go. We have ended our journey to the Netherlands during the second millennium.
I loved that. That was really fun.
We sculpted some good fun stories out of that, didn't we?
Yeah, like I sculpted my abs.
Sure.
They're coming, I promise.
But now, of course, Peter, it is that time.
It is.
The ears of the audience swivel in their sockets towards both of us. And it is time for us to draw out the Derzolator.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's have another good one.
Okay, let's turn it on. All right, Peter, so our next episode is going to be the following. Our place is Costa Rica.
I don't know how I feel about that.
All I think about is Jurassic Park, which was filmed in Costa Rica.
Oh, was it?
So, yeah, I'm hoping for something many millions of years ago. That would be good.
All right, let's find out.
Our time period is... It's the Edo period in Japan.
Oh, of course.
Which is 1603 to 1868.
Oh, that's quite long. That gives me comfort.
Okay, well, that's good. As always, though, Pete, the stumbling block is the topic. And our topic is... botany.
Oh, but always plants. That's great. Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
That is fantastic. Botany in Costa Rica during the Edo period in Japan.
Sounds good to me.
That's fantastic. All right. I'm going to plant some facts on you.
Oh, did a bulb go off for you?
I'll just leave it there, shall I?
Oh, you are the root of the problem. We need to stem the tide of these puns, Ryan.
I love it when you get involved. All right, Pete. See you next time.
Yes, indeed. Let's do it.
All right, well, look, there you go. That is the show for this week. Thank you all for listening. If you'd like to get in touch about any of the things that we've talked about on the show, or just to say hello, if you can reach out to us through our website at hhepodcast.com or by email at peteandryan@hhepodcast.com.
Yes, indeedy. Talk to us. We love to hear from you. And you never know, you might end up featured on a future show.
That's right. If you're on Mastodon, Instagram, Facebook, or X, you can find us at hhepodcast.
And if you subscribe to those, you'll get an alert when we post extra content like facts we didn't use, photos, national anthem, flags, anything.
That's right. And we're going to be back again very soon with
The Verdict.
But until then, a huge thanks to you, Pete.
And a huge thanks to Mr. Wieberdink.
And that is it. I guess all that's left to say is...
You've been listening to...
History happened everywhere.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Pete.
Why are there rocks all over the living room floor?
Well, you know how you asked me to make those elephant sculptures?
Yeah.
Well, you said that to make a sculpture of an elephant, all you have to do is take a block of marble and chip away everything that isn't an elephant. So that's what I did.
Right, yeah, dead simple.
Well, I think the 3 blocks of marble you got me were faulty.
Well, how do you mean?
Well, I chipped away at all of them, but there wasn't an elephant in any of them.
What? No, you're supposed to imagine the elephant and sculpt that. Oh, God, do you know how much a block of marble is?
I mean, there's no need to worry.
No?
No, because you had 3 lumps of marble, right?
Right.
And now you've got thousands of lumps of marble, which is loads more than just 3, so you can just sell those and make loads of money.
Oh, who's going to want tiny bits of marble?
Chess piece carvers? Marble makers?
Ryan, I'm not going to sell tiny marble chunks.
How about then I glue the pieces together in the shape of an elephant? Look, I mean, this piece looks a bit like a nostril.
Ryan.
And this bit looks a bit like a toenail.
Actually, it does a bit. Oh, and there's a bit of tail there. I think that could be eye. Oh, all right, I'll get the glue. Nice, that was good. Hello, lovely YouTube folks. This is a special message just for you.
Yeah, thanks for listening all the way to the end.
Now, if you enjoyed the show, please let us know your thoughts in the comments below.
And don't forget to take a moment to hit that like and smash subscribe.
Hit that like.
Yeah.
Smash subscribe.
Yeah, it's what people say.
Do they, though?
Yeah, only the cool kids.
And you think you're the cool kids, do you?
No, we're the cool kids.
Oh, yeah, I suppose we are. All right, smash that like button, people. Smash it real good.
Oh, yeah. Nice.